Do you believe in alternate universes?
You are listening to Delayed Replay.
The improvised movie review podcast. Wink.
Everything is fine here. We're all fine. Just sit tight and listen to them talk about the movies they definitely saw.
Don't delay. We have to listen right away.
Hello, listeners. This is your host, Steven Schinder, with another episode of Dead Periel. On this one, we're talking about Jingle Cure Us. And I have my guest on this episode, Dylan Green.
So I see what you did there with the intro. Hello. I've been looking forward to this since you asked if I wanted to be on. I've been keenly awaiting talking about this paragon of cinematic history, I think.
Was that paragon intentional?
I think so. I think so.
Never eat pears, or whatever it is the doctor says. So to explain the joke, because explaining the joke is always the sign of a joke being good.
Makes it funnier, okay?
So Dead Periel is an anagram of delayed replay. Delayed replay. I can't talk very well right now, and Jingle Cure Us is an anagram of Jungle Cruise, which is what we're actually talking about. So Dylan is on a few podcasts over at Decorative Vegetable, and currently on their Doctor Who podcast, Trust Your Doctor. They're talking about Torchwood, and since Torchwood is an anagram of Doctor Who, you guys are playing with anagrams quite a bit.
Every week, we introduce the show with a different anagram of the name Trust Your Doctor. About a week ago, off recording, my co-host Keon was like, this probably isn't as funny as we thought it would be, and we should probably stop when we reach season 2 of Torchwood. So there's a little insight for all of you delayed replay fans.
All the delayed replay fans.
Hey man. Don't underestimate your fan base.
Right. I mean, I have an idea of how many people listen, but yeah. So, last episode was about tenet, and palindromes are a little bit of a thing, and this episode it's anagrams, at least for this intro.
Well, probably not going to be anagrams moving forward, because I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty bad at coming up with anagrams. I use an anagram finder for Trust Your Doctor, because I don't want to sit there all morning going, okay, what's a reasonable word I can make out of these letters? So I'm not going to be able to come up with any on the fly moving forward. I hate to be a disappointment, but...
Oh, yeah, I mean, I didn't intend to make more. I was just going to say, I only know that, an anagram of my name would be Nerdish Events, and I figured out that an anagram of your name would be Linda Genre, or something like that.
I'll take it.
So... Yeah, we're talking about Jungle Cruise, and we even took a trip to Disneyland in preparation for this movie. Went on the Jungle Cruise ride.
Yeah,
so,
the Jungle Cruise ride is one of my favorites. I got an annual pass to Disneyland at the beginning of 2020, and so every time I go, I try to go, at least once a week, and every time I'm there, I just have to ride Jungle Cruise. I just have to go on the Jungle Cruise and experience the little cruise down the Amazon just every single time. Disney is not complete without the Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, that's quite dedication. Yeah, I mean, it gets super crowded, but my favorite part of Disneyland right now is Galaxy's Edge, because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so it's pretty much my bread and butter,
I mean, that's fair enough, but the Jungle Cruise is a classic. I mean, you can't go wrong with the Jungle Cruise, Fair play to Galaxy's Edge, but it's Jungle Cruise for me all the way. Jungle Cruise has my heart and my soul and possibly the rest of my body. But
how much Are they like paying you for this?
Well, I signed an NDA, so I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose that information. I'll have to talk with my lawyers. I'll have to talk with my lawyers and get back to you.
That's fair. So yeah, the ride itself is pretty fun, and we were pretty, I guess, jazzed to see how it would translate on screen. Not that I had like particularly high expectations about this movie, but since like The Rock is in it, and like I know how much you guys love The Rock, so it's like over at Trust Your Doctor, he's kind of a meme now.
Look, I am a self-proclaimed Rock fanatic. Okay? The Rock is one of the greatest actors of our generation. He instantly elevates any movie from potentially being trash into being at least fun, enjoyable content. He did it with Skyscraper. He did it with San Andreas. He did it with Race to Witch Mountain. And, I think I can safely say he did it again with Jungle Cruise. The absolute madman.
Out of those three, I've only seen Race to Witch Mountain, but the only thing I remember is the meme where like he's like in the driver's seat, like looking back at the kids.
I'll tell you, I've seen the original Race to Witch Mountain, and the Dwayne
same.
The Rock version, in my opinion, is superior, if only because Dwayne The Rock Johnson is in it.
All right, and with San Andreas, I was just like, I've never seen it, but I remember being kind of disappointed that it wasn't based on the video game Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. But we can't always have nice things.
I'm kind of genuinely surprised they haven't made a movie based on GTA yet.
Baby Driver comes pretty close toward the end, where it gets like super crazy with like all the car chases and all the shooting and whatnot. And also like the beginning of the Ryan Gosling movie Drive kind of gives me like loading screen vibes with like the soundtrack and whatnot. That's a genuinely great movie.
Oh, yeah.
I love the soundtrack to Drive.
I watched it for the first time about a week ago now, and really enjoyed Drive.
Yeah, it really, I don't know, it's just something that kind of reaches into your soul and makes you question whether you're a real human being and a real hero.
Are you the hero of your own story? Find out. Watch Drive.
Check out Backseat Drivers, a Drive/Race to Witch Mountain podcast. No, just kidding. I don't know if that even exists.
Can you imagine a podcast just based entirely around movies that have driving in them? Like Drive, Baby Driver, Race to Witch Mountain, just...
Whichever bus movie with the bomb, whatever that's called.
Oh, Speed!
Speed.
Speed! How could you forget Speed?
I mean, I think it's because I don't remember if I've ever seen it. I just know that, like, there's that South Park episode that references it, and there's also an Invader Zim episode that surprisingly references it by, like, I think there's like a bomb under the bus driver's seat or something, and it's like not drawn attention toward.
Oh, I definitely know I haven't seen Speed. I just know all the memes. The sick memes that have come out of that movie.
Yes, memes are comedy gold. If you're proofreading your own memes, does that count as editing?
Oh my god. We're in too deep already into the meme culture. We're in too deep.
So anyway, Jungle Cruise.
I was gonna say, we harp on how great Dwayne The Rock Johnson is, but I don't think we should ignore the contribution of Emily Blunt to the success of this movie. You need an actress who can hold up against the sheer charisma of a human being that is Dwayne. And Emily Blunt really pulls it off. She really, really put in a good performance in this movie.
Oh yeah, I agree. Like, I loved her in, well, I guess coming full circle, like, since the first episode of this was on A Quiet Place Part 2. Like, even though that movie had its issues, like, A Quiet Place Part 2 was, like, she had, like, really strong moments in that one, I think.
Yeah.
She's a great actress.
Yeah, she's just been having hit after hit in 2020. And, Jungle Cruise made a joke about it being paragon of cinema. It's not perfect, but I do think that Emily and Dwayne really hold it up. They kind of carry the movie, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, right in the beginning, like, we see Emily Blunt's character. She plays Lily Houghton, a scientist. She's doing research on this thing called the Tree of Life, which has, like, healing powers. But there are, like, these other people going after it, and there's, like, this fight scene in this library in London, which I thought was really cool and well choreographed.
Yeah, it's the it's not necessarily a cold open, so to speak, but it really draws you into the action as soon as the movie starts. You open on Emily Blunt, she's reading, and then all of a sudden the villains come in and they start fighting it out and just causing general havoc to the poor library. I could only imagine like who would have to like clean up this mess when she leaves.
Yeah, I was cringing when like the villains were like tearing pages out of books. I mean, that's how they get you, right? How they make you really hate these characters and root against them. It's like, can you please stop? This is literature right here.
Yeah, I mean, the desecration of knowledge is like a common villain motivation throughout history, and to see it so subtly displayed right off the bat with them tearing the pages out of the book, they could have really gone for like mustache twirling, like, haha, look at us, we're destroying this. But instead they kind of tear the pages out as almost a side effect of them trying to chase down Lily as she's running through this library and trying to escape. It gives us the first kind of look at Lily as sort of a Jack Sparrow-esque character. And I do feel this movie warrants comparison to Pirates of the Caribbean, since they're both movies based on famous Disney rides that are better than they have any right to be, really.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Lily even mentions, like, she compares the Tree of Life to the Fountain of Youth and references how, like, there's a legend of how, like, Jack Sparrow and Blackbeard found it at some point. So
yeah, kind of weird how they tied these two universes together, but, Disney, you mad lads.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even gotten to the craziest part of it, but we'll get there.
Oh, yeah, that scene near the end. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we'll get there. She definitely feels like a Jack Sparrow type. Not in terms of how, like, sometimes Jack can get really, I don't know if moronic is the right word, but you know how he'll be, like, kind of silly. Like, she's more serious, but she can also, like, be swashbuckling, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I would describe her as kind of like a thinking man's Jack Sparrow, almost. Jack Sparrow is very, wears his heart on his sleeve, very obvious, so to speak, and she's more of a kind of subtle, nuanced take on a very similar idea. Like you said, very swashbuckling when she needs to be.
I guess while we're on this, did you hear that Margot Robbie is supposedly going to be in, like, a new Pirates of the Caribbean movie? She reminded me of Jack Sparrow when she played Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey, which is, like, I really love that movie. And she even says parlay at some point, so it's like, yeah.
I remember that. I really like that movie too. Yeah, I can see how that's a very Jack Sparrow-esque character. Yeah, I read that, and at first I was like, but then I was like, Disney, you mad lad, you've got me for another Pirates movie. I don't know how you did that, since I didn't even watch the fifth one, but somehow you convinced me. So, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Oh, you're not missing anything by not watching the fifth one, honestly.
Yeah, so, like, Barbossa was my favorite character in those movies, and just, like, I heard a spoiler about the fifth one that just really made me, like, not want to watch it, so I just didn't. Yeah,
they really pulled things out of thin air, and there's, like, some fan service moments are out of place, so...
I also heard it, like, retcons a lot of stuff with respect to Jack.
Yeah, it does.
The compass and various other Jack-related paraphernalia.
And pretty much the end of the third movie. So.
Damn. I still hold the original trilogy of Pirates movies up as one of the most consistently at least good trilogies out of the vast number of trilogies I've watched.
Check out Triple Play, a movie trilogy podcast.
Coming back with season 3 later this year.
Yeah, the seasons are much longer than, like, one would think.
Yeah.
Like, just in terms of years that they spend.
Hey, man, it's okay, I didn't realize how tiring it was going to be when we started that podcast to watch movie trilogies, but, like, 1 year in, we were like, oh, geez, this is the most tiring thing I've ever done.
Earlier this morning, I was having an argument with someone online. It was this weird post where someone said that Saw is a trilogy, and it like really isn't. Like the first three were going to be intended as a trilogy, but then they just kept going up to 7, like releasing one a year, and then they took a break and then came back with Jigsaw several years later, and then Spiral this year. And someone in the comments was saying how like it's 3 trilogies and that Saw 7, Jigsaw, and Spiral are a trilogy, and I'm like, they definitely aren't. They're so disconnected from each other.
It sounds like that person is trying to make Saw the next Star Wars with some sort of three trilogies. You know, this whole symbolism behind the number 3.
Yeah, they did make the Star Wars comparison, but I was like, no, this isn't like the sequel trilogy. Like, it's more like if you said, like, the Clone Wars movie, The Force Awakens, and Rogue One are a trilogy because, hey, look, it's the 7th, 8th, and 9th theatrical movies.
I mean, they could be. Like, you know, you could just hack it together and be like, well, you know, the connecting thread is the oppression of the clones and the stormtroopers throughout the 3 movies and how they're used as menial grunts. And they're actually the main characters of this trilogy. You know, you could, like, hack it together somehow.
Sure, let's make Salvation, Genesis, and Dark Fate a trilogy while we're
Yeah, they are. I mean, they're the trilogy of rewriting and attempting to redo Terminator 3.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a case for Terminator 1, 2, and 3 being a trilogy, and then 1, 2, and Genesis, and 1, 2, and Dark Fate being trilogies. But I don't think there's a case for Salvation, Genesis, and Dark Fate being like an actual cohesive trilogy.
They're the trilogy of Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to milk his franchise for all the money he can get. See? Look, easy.
But I mean, he only appears as a CGI face in Salvation. So,
still got that paycheck, though, and that's what matters.
Checkmate.
That's what matters.
Paycheck mate.
It's like that, was it Anthony Hopkins who was in Jaws 3, and they were like, have you seen Jaws 3? It sucks. And he's like, no, I haven't, but I have seen the house that it paid for.
Oh, I think you guys have talked about that like once or twice on
I love that quote. I love that quote. That's going to be me one day when I can do things just for the money. When people offer me to do things and pay me to do it.
Nice. I'll put the quote in the show notes.
Ah, yes, the show notes.
Lily also has a younger brother. She goes to visit him at his workplace in this office building. His name is McGregor, and he's played by Jake Whitehall. And she's like telling him about the Tree of Life, and he's being really skeptical about it because, like, you know, this is like 20th century. I'm not sure like which year, because like when they show the year at the beginning, it's like super tiny, and it's like the opposite problem that Captain America's Civil War has with its giant ass letters, you know?
Yeah, it was kind of weird that the year was almost like the creators of the movie were like, well, we don't really know what year it is, so if we put it really small, no one will notice, except as soon as this movie comes out on Blu-ray, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to stick it in my Blu-ray player, and I'm just going to blow up the image until I can read what the heck year this is supposed to take place in. And you know I'm not going to be the only one who does that.
And then once you find out the truth, the Disney team will like barge into your home and be like, Disney,
Yeah, Disney will
up.
kick in the door and drag me away and be like, you can't reveal this information.
They'll like break your disc and then like do a Men in Black thing to you. Make you forget.
The Disney Mafia. Look, if it happens, this podcast will be the evidence you need to make sure you know that Disney did it to me. It was the Disney Mafia. I've said too much already. I've broken my NDA. Oh no.
All right, I'll edit that part out.
Oh no.
So, no worries. Yeah, McGregor is pretty skeptical, but he's also bored of his office job, so he's like, okay, I'll go with you on this journey to the Tree of Life, or whatever the heck it's called.
Yeah, I'll go on this journey that involves potentially certain death and, you know, disease and all sorts of terrible things might happen to me, but, you know, I'm bored, so sure.
She does convince him that, like, if they do get diseases, the Tree of Life might be able to heal them, but that's a pretty big
Well, it's a pretty big if to like risk your whole health and life and like career on, you know. I was kind of curious to know why they named him McGregor, which typically is like someone's last name, but they decided to make it his first name. So it's like, I don't know if there's anything deeper to that. It's just something I noticed.
My theory is that it's subliminal marketing for the Kenobi show that's starring Ewan McGregor. It's coming to Disney Plus.
That's right, because it is Ewan McGregor. The Disney Mafia strikes again.
I remember this one time, some boxing or wrestling match with someone named McGregor was trending, and like I jokingly posted, like this was before the Kenobi show was confirmed, and like it was rumored to be a movie. Like I think it was originally gonna be a movie, but like I made this post where I was like, McGregor fight is trending, so that Kenobi movie's happening after all.
Surprise, the Kenobi movie is just 3 hours of Ewan McGregor boxing people, and it ends with a surprise cameo from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson moving over from wrestling to boxing. And he plays the big villain of the series, who will be, in a surprise twist, revealed to be not Darth Maul.
I mean, obviously, like, I hope for new, unfamiliar villains in the show, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. That's going to be coming out hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah, I think it's slated for next year, and you can bet I'm going to, like, watch each episode, like, as soon as they, like, come out. So, yeah.
Consume media. Consume.
Subscribe
to Disney Plus. Give Disney your money. What?
Subscribers get more at bigfinish.com.
Did you sell out to the Big Finish mob? It's okay. This is a safe space.
I mean, I did buy a bunch of their stuff over the last couple months, so maybe.
Suspicious.
I'm just not gonna Big Finish that statement, so moving on.
Moving swiftly along, so
just cruise
along. McGregor and Lily. We get a little bit of a time skip, and we get a concurrent event where we meet Frank for the first time. He's showing off his absolutely fantastic jungle cruise with all sorts of little in-jokes referencing the ride.
Yeah, because like when Disney shows this movie, they want people to think of Disneyland as opposed to like Torchwood Land or something like that.
Pandora Land.
I was watching Space Jam right before doing this episode, like, you know,
as you do.
And so like I've had the VHS of Space Jam for years. I grew up with it as a kid, but it took me this long to realize that Moron Mountain is a reference to Magic Mountain. And like, you know, they want like the Looney Tunes to be forced to be at Moron Mountain, so it's like, and like Magic Mountain has its own like Bugs Bunny World or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I confession time, have not actually ever watched Space Jam.
The Warner Brothers team will be knocking through your door and making you watch it.
You know, why do I even fix the door? Every day I fix it. Someone else is banging on it, knocking it down, and just, you know, at this point, just come on in. Just if you ring the doorbell, you can just come in. Just please, like, please stop knocking my door down. Please.
Also today, as of when we're recording this, apparently it's the 80th anniversary of Bugs Bunny.
Oh, so, yeah. Yeah, the USPS is releasing Bugs Bunny stamps today. So that's fun. I collect stamps, so that's why I'm all up on the stamps knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, someone's got to collect
Somebody's got to preserve the history of stamps in Rhodesia. The most recent stamp acquisition is a Rhodesian stamp my mom found behind a bookcase.
Collect the stamps before they collect the dust.
Collect stamps before they collect you.
But your mention of mail reminded me of something. How like they're on this like jungle cruise with Frank, and he says something about like one day shipping through the Amazon, and I feel like this is a subtle way of like marketing Amazon the website. or not so subtle, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem so subtle because he kind of just, after he meets Lily, he just kind of turns to her and goes, I've been shipping through Amazon for years. And she just goes, what? And he goes, never mind. A little bit of a weird scene to just kind of throw in there, but I figured Disney needed some money to fund this movie, and that was how they got it.
Yeah, he definitely looked at the camera at one point while he was saying that.
Kind of an implied wink with it, too. I mean, he didn't actually wink because that'd be like, whoa, too much fourth wall breaking, but he kind of it seemed like he wanted to.
But I mean, if he did break the fourth wall, that'd be evidence that he's the Doctor,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That the Doctor's adventures were all just his history, re-performed for us as viewers. Deep. Oh, copyright. But...
X-Files, X-Files, X-Files. Actually got that from one of the Nerdist podcasts where they talked about the X-Files with David Duchovny. So.
Oh, hell yeah. Another confession, I have not watched the X-Files either, but I will probably watch it eventually. It is kind of inevitable.
Check out Inevitable, a classic sci-fi podcast. But I've seen the first 5 seasons and the first movie, and then I didn't watch the stuff that's after because I heard it went downhill, but I watched the mini-series back in 2016.
2016? Sorry?
Good old 2016.
Yeah, 2016. Yeah.
The 2 was too much. So, but yeah, I watched that miniseries and it ended on a cliffhanger that I really hated. So I just noped out of whatever came next.
Probably another miniseries, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so. Watch Twin Peaks instead. It's definitively better than the X-Files. Wait, what? Who said that?
I wouldn't know. I haven't seen Twin Peaks either. Apparently my television knowledge is strictly pre-1990s British science fiction only.
Check out Zenith, a Blake 7 podcast.
Actually, dude, Zenith was the greatest thing I've ever done, and we peaked after that, and we never reattained that kind of success. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it was a zenith of
It truly
success,
was.
but...
That's why it's named Zenith. I never thought of that. Wow.
It always makes me think of that logo at the bottom of some TVs. I don't know if that's a TV company or what.
Oh yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Wow. Never made that connection.
Well, now you did. However brief that connection was.
Never going to be able to unthink it.
Check out Unthinkable, a mind... No, that's not. So yeah, they're on this cruise and there's danger at every corner, which it's all because they go through this route that Frank isn't used to taking because they want to take the route that leads to the Tree of Life, and he's pretty skeptical about it too, as one would probably be about a magic tree in whatever year this is.
Yeah, I mean, he's also, he reveals, been researching the Tree of Life independently for years. So you would think that when Lily shows up, meets Frank, who is basically the bona fide expert on the Tree of Life, and he's like, look, it probably doesn't exist, ma'am. She would be like, well, you got me. You're right. You're right. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, he's even let me be frank. This is pointless.
And another, he kind of definitely turns to the camera. There's a lot of these little subtle fourth wall kind of nods in this movie.
Yeah, subtle.
They're subtle if you're asleep.
Are you implying that you were asleep for some of this movie?
No, I was fully juiced up for the whole... Ooh, I probably shouldn't say that. I was fully awake for the whole movie. I was eyes wide open. Just oh yeah, this is really scratching that Pirates of the Caribbean itch that I haven't scratched in, since I saw On Stranger Tides a million years ago.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like the music didn't really do much for me in terms of, the Pirates of the Caribbean vibe that I usually think of when I think of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, that was something I wanted to talk about, actually. Who did the music for this? I had it in my notes.
James Newton.
James Newton Howard. He's won some awards, but I've always seen him as kind of a he is kind of a Hans Zimmer protege, but I've always seen him as a very pragmatic composer. I've never really seen many movies with music by him that I was like, oh yeah, now that was a banging score. I mean, he did the Batman trilogy with Chris Nolan, but he composed those with Hans Zimmer, and based on some of his other movies, you might wonder if Hans Zimmer may have been carrying that duo there.
Yeah. I was just looking up their ages. It looks like James Newton Howard is 6 years older than Hans Zimmer.
Huh, that's really surprising. He scored over 100 movies and gotten 8 Academy Award nominations, but he has not won. But he does have a Grammy. He also scored what I've heard is an abomination of a movie, The Lost Airbender.
Oh, I actually watched that for the only time ever earlier this month. I avoided it for 10 years, and
I haven't seen it or the TV show.
It has none of the humor of the TV show, and the casting was just very problematic.
Oh, hell yeah. Problematic casting in Hollywood. Name a more iconic duo, honestly.
You and Keon? I don't know.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, but
I've only got half of Trust Your Doctor here, so it's more like Trust
Yo.
Or Trust You.
But yeah, James Newton Howard's score was just it didn't have that swashbuckling feel I was really looking for. In fact, there's not a single song from this movie that I could just hum for you right now. There's no recognizable theme or anything, really.
Well, there is one thing. There was that, it's not, I guess, original to the score, but there was that Weird Al Yankovic song, Skipper Dan, which is part of the ride.
That's right. He did, or the music editors, whoever made the choice to include that music during the climactic boat chase, really, really sold me on the movie, honestly. That was the moment where I was all in.
Pretty catchy song.
Yeah, that was the one song I came out of the movie that one was pretty good. But, I mean, it was written, well before this movie was made, so at least as far as I know, unless Weird Al's a time traveler.
Oh man, is there just time travel in both our podcasts? Or what's happening?
Well, the appearance of me on your podcast, canonically, in the canon of Trust Your Doctor, sets your podcast in the same universe as mine.
Oh yeah, I can't argue with that logic. On Trust Your Doctor, you guys talk about how, canonically, Doctor Who is made by time travelers who listened to your podcast to see, what's going on. And you guys even tested that by, pretending that there's, this stay-at-home lockdown thing. And wouldn't you know it, Doctor Who ended up releasing these Doctor Who lockdown stories to, reflect that.
Yeah. It's really bizarre.
Confirmed.
It's really kind of disconcerting to know that there are time travelers living among us, listening to the podcast that has no listenership at all. For some reason, they're that's the one we're gonna listen to.
Delayed replay as an acronym is DR.
Doctor.
Doctor. It's trust
Doctor
your
confirmed.
Doctor. Trust your delayed replay.
Confirmed. How does it feel to join the canon of every Doctor Who podcast ever? Since I think canonically, Keon and I were on a podcast that featured 20 other Doctor Who podcasts in the same episode, which means canonically you have now joined basically every Doctor Who podcast in the canon of the podcasting world.
I feel I'm trying to think of some movie that got put into another franchise canonically, but I can't think of a good example.
You mean potentially maybe Jungle Cruise?
Oh yeah, but we'll get there.
We'll get there.
So yeah, I feel like Jungle Cruise. But anyway, so you got the villains, you got Jesse Plemons plays one of them, and Quim Gutierrez, and they're fighting them on the boat, and Frank's getting really upset because like he loves his boat. It's like the love of his life, pretty much. I guess you could say that's his relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, he even goes so far as to call it the pearl of his life, in which you kind of have to wonder if he looked at the camera and gave a little nod again. Very, very interesting.
You're gonna have to explain that one for me.
Because the Black Pearl is Captain Jack's ship.
Okay, I was thinking Black Pearl, but I wasn't sure if that was where you're going. Like, I didn't know if there was like some Dwayne Johnson movie about a pearl.
The Dwayne Johnson movie canon, it's vast and all-encompassing. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised, is my point.
Honestly, it's a crime that Dwayne Johnson was never in that 90s movie, The Rock. So
the one about escaping Alcatraz?
Oh, I don't know. I've never seen it. So.
I don't even know if he was well, I guess
I just know he wasn't.
He would have been an actor by that point because he would have been in Star Trek by that point. So yeah, I think his Star Trek episode was before The Rock. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah, let's see. The Rock movie came out in 1996.
Oh yeah, then definitely because he was on Voyager, which I think ended in 96 or 97. So
well, Voyager actually began in 95.
Did it really?
So yeah,
that would mean Deep Space Nine ended in 94. Or 95?
No, Deep Space Nine ended in 1999, so like some of it was concurrent with Voyager.
Jeez.
But
I always saw Deep Space Nine as a solidly 80s series. Wild.
Speaking of Deep Space Nine, you should check out Babylon 5. The legend has it that like the premise of Babylon 5 may have been taken by Paramount and all them who made Deep Space Nine. So like even though Deep Space Nine came a little bit before Babylon 5, the premise might have originally been like Babylon 5 from like when the creator was like pitching the show to different people. And like you watch Babylon 5 and the premise is very similar, but I think Babylon 5 does it better.
Interesting.
Honestly.
Deep Space Nine is my favorite Star Trek series, so
yeah, I mean I love Deep Space Nine. It's just I prefer Babylon 5. It's probably my favorite sci-fi series.
Fair enough. You don't think Doctor Who is your favorite series? For shame. SMH, fake fan.
I mean...
Hashtag not a real Doctor Who fan.
Come on. Did Doctor Who ever have, like, a 5-season arc that was, like, planned from, like... Or that at least feels like it was planned from beginning to end, and it has, like, a poignant ending? Doctor Who doesn't even have an ending, man. What's up with that?
I mean, if you ignore some of the episodes that don't quite fit into it, Stephen Moffat's era could maybe sort of be like a 5-year plan, maybe. If you just ignore some of the badder episodes.
Sounds too much like headcanoning there.
My headcanon is the only canon that matters.
But speaking of cannons, they like fire them at the river boat that they're on. And so, yeah, that boat's going down and they have to like jump off and get like on the shore and traverse the jungles with all its various beasts and whatnot.
And which, like, you totally saw the scene coming from the instant Lily was like, I can't swim. And Frank was like, wait, what? You knew that at some point she was going to be half drowning and Frank was going to have to carry her Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson style across the river. And, it was glorious.
At least it's not like one of those old video games where you die if you immediately touch the water.
The Tree of Life and the River of Death. That would have been an interesting idea. I don't know how they would have made a movie of that. But interesting idea.
Just make it an art film that simply has the tree and the river, no people in it whatsoever. And like make it like super pretentious and black and white at some point.
So like Koyaanisqatsi.
Excuse me?
Koyaanisqatsi.
I've never even heard of this.
Wow. Godfrey Reggio's masterpiece. It's a movie that has no characters. It's music and visual. It's like I think he called it a visual poem, but it's basically visuals and music, and it tells a story about life rising from nothing and how industrialization basically returned us to our like confined forms and took away our free will. Koyaanisqatsi is pretty good, actually. I just kind of ragged on it by making that joke by saying it was pretentious, but I will say that its sequels are pretty bad and pretentious.
Okay, I'll have to like look that up because maybe cinema isn't so bad. So yeah, they go through this jungle and they get attacked by this like jungle cat, and like they're trying to do the thing where like they make themselves look bigger, which has like mixed results. I don't know if that only works on bears or if it works for more animals, so it kind of took me out a bit.
Yeah, it was a little bit of anachronism with Frank being like, "You're just gonna make yourself bigger," and Lily's like, "But all right, I don't know if that's gonna work, but all right." And then it kind of works, but it kind of doesn't.
Yeah, and then Paul Giamatti's character comes out and he reveals that he is friends with this jungle cat, which is kind of weird.
I was honestly taken out a little bit of it, less so by them making themselves bigger for the cat, but me wondering, like, how did his character, I think his name was Brooks, got there, quicker than Frank and Lily did. Like, Frank and Lily took off on their boat, and then, like, all of a sudden Brooks shows up in the middle of the jungle. And I was just wondering, like, how did you get here, man? Like, how did you get here before they did?
Yeah, I wonder if there's, like, some sort of symbolism, because, like, there's, like, a brook and, like, a river, so, like...
Yeah, I buy it. I'm sold. I'm buying what you're selling.
Well, what I'm selling is illegal. Joke's on you.
What? Disney, open up.
Wait, what? So, yeah, he tells the cat to like sick them, and so they're like running through the jungle and they end up like swinging on vines, but like it's not able to like support the rock, so like they're like falling, and it's like they really went all out on this action sequence. I feel like the camera was like too shaky at moments. So it was like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, you kind of wanted them to be like, yo, just let the action speak for itself. You don't need to shake the camera while they're falling, because they're falling. We know they're falling. Let us see them fall, And then when they get to the bottom, the whole fight sequence, just the whole... I honestly, I couldn't even tell what was going on. Like, I had to go back and watch the movie a second time just to figure out what was going on during this whole scene because of the shaky cam.
Yeah, I mean, they even run into Sir James Hobbs Cunningham, who's played by Andy Neiman, and it's like, how do all these people get ahead of them? Like, what's going on? Yeah,
it was a very, very Emperor's New Groove feel for me. And I guess since this isn't like a serious movie, that kind of works, it kind of works, especially when Frank kind of calls it out. When Sir James shows up, and this is like the third person who got there before them, and he kind of turns to Lily, except he's really, turning to the camera kind of, and he goes, how do these people keep beating us?
Yeah, I love that moment in Emperor's New Groove where they acknowledge how they got ahead and it seems impossible. I actually rewatched that movie recently because my friends do a podcast called Intergalactic Peace Coalition, and that was one of the movies they talked about recently.
Oh, nice.
Still holds up, that movie. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, I love Emperor's New Groove. Empire's New Groove.
Oh, I also
Star Wars version.
You ever seen Empire on Ice, the Robot Chicken sketch where it's like Empire Strikes Back but as a musical with ice skating?
I have vague memories of seeing it like a long time ago.
I'll link it in the show notes. Check out link in the show notes, a Legend of Zelda podcast. We're basically just like pitching all these podcast ideas that are never going to come to fruition. Probably.
I kind of really thought you would say check out link in the podcast, link in the show notes, a podcast about show notes. Just a podcast that reviews other podcasts' show notes.
That would be something.
Copyright Dylan 2020.
Damn, you beat me to
it. That's how copyright works. You say it first, and you got it. Like didn't you know?
Yes, that is how it works in these parts.
In these parts.
On the interwebs.
So they go through this big fight scene, and it's kind of revealed that they're fighting at the Tree of Life. They had no idea that they were already there. They've been just fighting the villains, and they didn't even notice. And they're like, "Oh shoot, wait, we're actually here." And that like amps up the stakes in the middle of the fight sequence, because they go from just a regular fight to all of a sudden fight for like the soul of the world, so to speak.
Yeah, and they realize this before the fight gets too violent, because one of the villains had a broken bottle with them and was gonna use the glass to like slit someone's throat, but then like when they realized where they were, they like pretty much stopped fighting and were in awe at this giant tree.
Yeah, I really thought the movie was gonna go like hard on all of a sudden right there. Like, I know it was a PG rated movie, and then all of a sudden the dude pulls out a bottle and he's like, "I'm gonna slit your throat." And I'm like, whoa, Disney.
Yeah, like I couldn't remember if this was PG or PG-13, but even if it was PG-13, it would have been like really brutal if they actually showed the like throat getting slit.
Can you imagine just out of nowhere the whole movie is like pretty much PG, and then all of a sudden he just pulls out a bottle and slits the guy's throat? Like, whoa, out of nowhere.
But yeah, so the tree talks to them and says, "Only those who are worthy can use my healing powers." And like one of the villains has like a piece of plastic on them and then like tosses it, and like once it hits the ground, the tree is like, "Unworthy," and it like decimates him. Like you don't see it on screen, but like because of the lighting, it's implied that like the tree set him on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like this very overt save the environment message, like don't leave plastic on the ground. Very Doctor Who with its microplastics episode.
Very Praxius. I was a little taken out of the movie actually by how overt this message was. You know, how there wasn't really an obvious reason at first for him to just pull this like plastic out of his pocket and chuck it on the ground. You're just kind of like, whoa, man, like what? Why? You know?
Yeah, there was like no build up to it. Like maybe if it had been foreshadowed and we'd seen that like this is Jesse Plemons' character, but if they had like shown that he had a habit of like throwing stuff on the ground, like littering and whatnot, then maybe it would have felt less out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, it's pretty, I don't know. It just fell off to me.
Yeah, like if they had built it up throughout the movie by showing him being a filthy litterer for the whole movie, then maybe it would have made more sense for him to just chuck this plastic on the floor and be like, haha, lol.
Yeah, because they definitely said lol back then in 19 whatever.
In 19 something. In the 20th century. The nebulous 20th century.
Yeah, I mean, most of the 20th century looked the same. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So. You know, like, it's not like there was a total paradigm shift after World War II or anything. Like, yeah, the entirety of the 20th century looked the same.
Check out Paradigm, a podcast about pears. Coming at you from a tree near you. Take that, Apple.
Wow!
No, I'm kidding. Apple is one of the places where this podcast gets distributed.
Wow! They just boot you off their platform for talking bad about you. Apple, open up!
No! Get tossed into the Phantom Zone into space.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, eat your fruits and vegetables. But anyway, so like Lily's little brother, McGregor, he like pretty much picks up the plastic just to like look at it, like unknowingly knowing that like doing so would like grant him worthiness of harnessing the healing powers of the Tree of Life. And so like we get these like fireflies that come out of the tree and swirl around him, and like he starts glowing, and it's like it's like the goofiest CGI I've seen in recent memory.
I mean, it wasn't great, but you know, I recently rewatched Black Panther, and whoo boy, the CGI in that movie did not hold up. Ooh boy.
I mean, I remember thinking it looked cool when I saw it in the theater, but I haven't seen it since then.
Yeah, I thought it was possible when I saw it in the theater, and rewatching it on like a home TV screen, I was like, man, wow, that did not age at all. So problem with it, I guess, is my point, because I guess I had seen worse recently.
McGregor shoots the jungle juice out. He like he like gets the jungle juice out of his, like, it comes out of his hands, and like they put them in jars, and it's like they can only get like a limited amount, because like if they take too much of it, then the tree of life will die. And like the remaining villains want to like exploit the tree and like use all of its resources, and so like there's of course another fight that ensues.
Lots of fighting in the final 30 minutes of the movie. I'm gonna be honest, lots of fighting.
Yeah, or you could be dishonest and say there was very little fighting.
I mean, I could, but I'm not going to.
You can't spell dishonesty without the letters that spell Disney.
Can't spell dishonesty without Disney. Yeah, you're right. You know, I had to think about that for a second, but you're right.
Like, they kind of, like, get out their compasses, like, because, like, each of these characters has, like, their own compass, and they pretty much try, like, bashing each other in each other's faces with the compass, and I guess, I don't know if it's, like, this metaphor for everyone losing direction, or if I'm just giving them too much credit, but, like, that was an unexpected choice.
No, I think that's what they were going for. You know, they had lost their way, and that's why they were fighting with the compasses, because they had, you know, lost kind of the direction in life. Lily had become so intent on like using the tree of life to save everybody in the world that she lost like the family that she had made along the way.
Yeah, and like Lily makes this like she pretty much uses Frank's line of "Let me be frank, you guys are being jerks." Like she says this to like the villains, and she's like, "We need to have a truce." And you know, obviously she doesn't sound like how I'm saying it. Like she has like her accent and whatnot, and I just don't want to butcher it. But yeah, she tries to convince them that like all this fighting will lead them nowhere, and they have to like do things for the good of the world. And then like there's like this zoom in on the villains, and they're like looking at each other, and it looks like they're gonna have a change of heart. But then they're like, never, and they step forward and then fall through like a sinkhole type of thing. And so I guess maybe they die. I wasn't really sure.
Well, they keep their fates ambiguous, which I'm pretty sure is because they're going to inevitably make a sequel after this movie made bank at the box office.
Yeah, I mean, the box office numbers, like, as of this opening weekend, like, they look better than I expected. So, like, I don't know if they'll be able to maintain the momentum or not. So we'll just have to see about that.
Yeah, and you have to wonder how much of that bankable box office was because it's Dwayne and Emily Blunt, like two real big stars, and how many people are going to turn out to see them again in a second movie that may be very similar to the first. I don't know. You know, we'll have to see.
Yeah. So they get back to civilization, and they kind of like. They keep the tree of life a secret, but they try to find ways to like stealthily put the cure in places where like people would need medicine for whatever they have. And it's like you see them like giving like a brownie to someone who's like really ill with some ambiguous illness, and once they like eat it, because it has like the tree of life stuff in it, like they feel much better once they eat it.
Yeah, they kind of stealthily taint some medicine with it. Probably throw off a lot of medical research studies, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, like they did consider like telling the whole world about this tree of life cure thing, but after seeing like the evils of like the competing expedition, they felt like the world is not ready yet, but they'll try to do their part. And of course, like Frank and Lily it's kind of hinted that they might become a thing, but I don't know if that's the direction they'll go or not.
Yeah, they also intentionally seem to keep that pretty ambiguous as well. Just in case, you know, again, for the inevitable sequel that we all know they're going to make, because Disney loves their sequels, and also, like, who wouldn't make a sequel after the, so far, pretty good opening weekend box office numbers?
Yeah, and I mean, considering the post-credit scene that they inserted, it looks like they've got some ideas. So, to backtrack a bit, like 2011, they were thinking of having Tom Hanks and Tim Allen star in the movie, but instead, what ends up happening is in this post-credit scene, you see Frank, Lily, and McGregor. They bump into Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, who are dressed as Woody and Buzz Lightyear, and they like inform them about how like time and space is like colliding or whatever, and you get this montage of places like Tomorrowland and Galaxy's Edge from Star Wars and like all these other places like the Haunted Mansion. You even see the country bears in there and like Mission from Mars. Like pretty much like any Disney park ride that's been adapted into a movie, like the Tower of Terror, and like you also see like the Black Pearl in this montage, and pretty much hinting that like all these different time periods and settings are colliding into like one land.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at their choice of including the Brad Bird directed Tomorrowland movie, which didn't get like great reviews in this montage. Like everything else kind of made sense, Toy Story, Star Wars, Marvel. These are all big franchises, and I guess Disney's trying to one up the Infinity War / Endgame by colliding even more universes together. But I was kind of really, questioning the inclusion of like Tomorrowland. Like, really, that was the movie you like decided to throw in there?
I actually still haven't seen Tomorrowland.
Neither have I.
I know there's also like a Disney XD cartoon called Miles from Tomorrowland. Like, I don't know if the main character is named Miles, but it looks like something.
Oh boy. Well, now we have a reason to watch Tomorrowland as we find out it's going to be part of this larger universe somehow. Really curious to see how this is going to work.
I don't know, we'll just have to see. Well, like, they even tell Frank that, like, his adventures are, like, inspiration for some video game in the future. So I guess that ties it with Sony's recent Jumanji movies. So, like, Sony and Disney working together again, I guess.
Yep, somehow they didn't learn from their little kerfuffle with the Sony rights, and they're back at it again.
I mean, it sounds like things are going fine with the next Spider-Man movie, but like the stuff with like Morbius, which just came out, and the upcoming Venom movie is pretty questionable, I'd say. Like the first Venom movie and the upcoming one. So
I enjoyed the first Venom movie. I thought it was fun. I'm going to be honest. Controversial opinion.
I thought that the first act of it was boring. Like, I almost fell asleep. I did like the dynamic between Eddie Brock and the symbiote. Like, they had good banter, I think, but I don't know. It kind of felt like it was missing something, like, to make me enjoy it as much as I would have preferred.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah, that movie. But I thought it was fun in the end. So once it picked up, I think it really won me over, so to speak.
Check out Fair Enough and County Fair podcast,
where we rate county fairs.
Yeah, I mean it's summertime, so like there's a bunch of them. But anyway. So I guess we'll go into final thoughts and score out of 10.
Sure. Yeah. I enjoyed this movie. It wasn't great, but I was really sold. Again, Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt were the two people who really sold me on this movie, and I think I had a fun time. I'm kind of curious to know where this whole like world-ending crossover event is gonna take us. But, we'll see where it goes. I'll give Disney the benefit of the doubt, and I'll see it and see what happens. Yeah, I think I'll put it like, say, a 7 out of 10. That seems fair.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of weird that Disney is, like you said, trying to one-up Marvel, even though they already own Marvel. But, like, I guess the fans are really demanding a Disneyland cinematic universe. So, but yeah, this movie, I didn't go in with high expectations. it had its fun moments, I guess. Like, again, like The Rock and Emily Blunt were big highlights. Some of the other characters were kind of forgettable. Like, we couldn't even remember some of their names. So it just goes to show how, like, some of the acting could have been better. And there were, like, all these moments that felt, like, out of nowhere. And to me, felt like padding the runtime, if I'm being honest. So I think I'm gonna give this one... I'll give this a 6.5 out of 10. It was a ride. Not the funnest ride, but a ride.
It was a ride.
Now, the Disneyland ride, that's a fun ride, and that probably
the ride is a 10 out of 10.
So, yes.
That ride is 100% a 10 out of 10. No question.
All right, yeah, that's pretty much canon that it's 10 out of 10.
Canon confirmed. You heard it here first, folks.
Anyway, thanks again for being on this episode, Dylan. Where can people find your stuff?
Oh yeah, no, thanks for inviting me on. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I was really looking forward to it, coming into it, and I had a good time. Yeah, if people let's see, if they want to find my stuff, the best place is our website, which is decorativevegetable.com. You can also find us on Twitter at TYD Podcast. You can also find my personal Twitter account at Spaceman Dylan. And then we're also on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Those are kind of the main places to find my content and my podcasts. We release twice weekly right now, which is rough on the editing, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you suckers don't stick to like once a week like I generally do. No, I'm kidding.
We used to do once a week, and then we did twice a week for Zenith, and we burned ourselves out. So that's when we do twice a week now. We take breaks in between seasons of Inevitable. Trust Your Doctor has been running continuously for 6 years now, but Inevitable takes breaks.
Yeah, go ahead and check those podcasts out. You'll find some really fun info as well as tangents, which are just as fun, if not more fun.
And also, Steven's been on the show once and may be on again soon. So if you enjoy that, also come and check us out.
Yeah, and I sometimes email the show. So
he's been on both in voice and in spirit through his emails. Canon confirmed.
As for my plugs, you can find me at Steven Schinder on Twitter and Instagram, Steven Schinder Storytelling on Facebook. You can also find my fantasy horror comedy novel, Lemons Loom Like Rain. More info on that at stevenschinder.com. It's available on Amazon, the website, not the forest jungle place. Rainforest. And yeah, if you want to email the podcast, just email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. No emails yet, other than like some sketchy spam emails. Like I look at the subject headings, and it's like, these people obviously didn't listen to the show. They're like calling me names without knowing me. So,
boy, I get those too for Trust Your Doctor all the time.
Yeah, so only email the podcast if you're like legit. So,
yo, spammers.
Like,
get out of here.
Stop trying to take my money and hack me or whatever. I don't know what it is that the spammers want to do. I don't even like open the emails.
Super suspicious.
I'll only open the real ones from the loyal listeners.
From the loyal true fans.
Yeah. 10 out of 10 gatekeeping right here. All right, and next episode, Delayed Replay, will be going from Jungle Cruise to Tom Cruise with Top Gun Maverick. So that should be something.
That certainly could be a good one.
Without further delay, have a good day.
The broadcast has ended. Little does Steven know that we are listening from inside this trailer. What did we learn this time around?
Well, according to my research, the Jaws quote was about Jaws 4 and said by Michael Caine.
The actor from Tenet? Is there anything he isn't in?
Some of these actors do more than one movie, apparently.
We'll have to transmit this to our master, but I'm sure by now he's already convinced Steven will make a fine host for our own amusement park.